So let's start off from the top. Biggest news of the week this week. Also, welcome into 5 Minute Critic. Big news of the week this week. Tarantino is hinting that he is done with filmmaking. First, I would say we don't know how much we can actually trust anything that Tarantino says. We've never really been able to trust anything Tarantino says for a long time. Pretty much every time he finishes a movie, what you expect to happen from Tarantino. I think like with Django. First, he said that what he was going to do is he was going to make another Western. It'll be a sequel to Django. And then he said that in several interviews. He said he was going to then make a horror movie. I think he said on like Conan or something like that. He then said that he had a script for a Star Trek movie, which seemed like it had more potential because J.J. Abrams was attached to it. Apparently they were talking over at Sony about it. And then he said that he was going to make a remake of Kill, Pussycat Kill. Said he had a script for that. He always floats these ideas of movies that are going to happen. He's talked about how there's going to be another Pulp Fiction movie, another thing tied to that. This Kill Bill thing has been around for I don't know how long. But the point is that you can never, it's tough talking about anything that Tarantino says because he is very, very difficult to trust whenever you take his word for it because he bounces off the goddamn walls all the time. And it's also not surprising to hear that he was like a huge cocaine addict for like 15 years. Makes a lot of sense. But I think what we can say for sure is that he takes himself incredibly seriously. He takes himself, he's pretty pompous about how seriously he takes himself. Very arrogant, but in an almost charming way, if you've ever heard an interview with him. So I think in this respect, the respect being that his career, I think when he's talking about his career as a whole, he takes it very, very seriously. Something that he has been talking about for a long time is his own legacy, what his legacy is going to mean and what he will be remembered as. And he wants to have like a canon of perfect movies or things like that. So that's why for like the last 7 or 8 years, he has said that he wants to make 10 movies and then be done. Now, a big question with that is where Kill Bill fits in. I'm not a big fan of Kill Bill, but is Kill Bill 2 movies? Is Kill Bill 1 movie? He says that it's 1 movie. Meh. I mean, if that then means that he can make a third Kill Bill movie and it doesn't mean anything, and then he can just kind of move on and then make another movie after that. So he's at 9 movies right now. And on a podcast last week, he floated something that he was floating back whenever he was doing the Once Upon a Time in Hollywood circuit, and that is that this might be his last movie. He says that it would be because he finishes strong with Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Now, I think that it's respectable that he's thinking about what his last movie is going to be. I think it's respectable that he knows that he's not going to stick around forever and that he wants to actually have a roster of movies that you can start from the beginning and go through them. And you've got a pretty good list of good movies and not kind of like fizzle out near the end if you want to be someone like, I mean, even Stanley Kubrick had Eyes Wide Shut as his last movie. Hitchcock's last movie was stupid. John Frankenheimer's last movie was stupid. Billy Wilder's last movie was stupid. Like great directors usually have really, really mediocre ends to their career. And he doesn't want to have a mediocre end to his career. So it makes sense. And if Once Upon a Time in Hollywood was the last movie, I think that would be disappointing. I don't think that it shows the best. Okay. Not that it doesn't show the best of what he's able to do. I think that there's a lot of fun to be had in that movie. I don't think that it showcases his talents best. And I don't, especially from a storytelling perspective, I like that movie, but I like the movie because I like anything that's about movies. I don't think that movie has the type of appeal of his other movies. It shows some interesting technical and storytelling techniques, but it does not hint at the greatness that he even had in his last 2 or 3 movies. I think he probably has another good one in him. I would think it'd be a shame if he stopped, but if he did stop, I think there's a lot of respect behind someone saying, you know what, I've did what I had to do. I've made my money. I've made my creations, and I'm going to go write books now or something, and I'm not going to overstay my welcome. Then, next big news all this week in terms of overstaying your welcome, we have been getting tons and tons of drips about the new Indiana Jones movie. There's a new Indiana Jones movie, Indiana Jones 5. There are set photos that showing that there are going to be Nazis in them. But aren't there? I think there are Nazis in all Indiana Jones movies. Anyway, they say there's going to be Nazis in this one. That's very exciting. They're going to be doing de-aging techniques for Harrison Ford. Mads Mikkelsen's going to be one of the bad guys. We keep getting all these stories. Indiana Jones 5 is now a big deal right now. I would say whether or not you want Quentin Tarantino to continue making movies, or if you'd be upset that he's not going to make any more movies. Sorry about the noise. I'm under a flight path. If you are upset about the fact that he's going to stop making movies, you have to at least respect the fact that they're self-aware enough, even with how arrogant he is, self-aware enough to know, you know what, the party's over. It's time to go home. I'm done. See you guys later. Whoever wants to make things now, you go ahead and come up and make things. When talking about Indiana Jones 5, do we need another Indiana Jones? And now I'm not saying this in terms of, oh, blah, 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 like an old man saying, oh, do we need more Indiana Jones? It's boring, it's lazy, it's all for money. But what is the motivation behind another Indiana Jones movie? There is no real story. There's no story that carries us into an Indiana Jones movie for the fifth round. I would understand it more if this was kind of like maybe a new Indiana Jones, if it was setting up like a brand new reboot of the franchise or something like that. But also, the last Indiana Jones movie, I believe, was over 10 years ago, and that was so mediocre, I think would probably be the best word. It left such a bad taste in everyone's mouth that to bring it back, hey, if it's good, then it's good. But in terms of the hype that we're getting right now from Indiana Jones, it's funny that these two stories came out because Indiana Jones feels like it's overstaying its welcome, doesn't feel like something that's totally necessary. Of course, I'm going to go and see it. Of course, you're going to go and see it. I'm sure that they're going to hype it up, but in one side, Quentin Tarantino quitting feels like at the end of the day, you know what? If you're going to stop, then stop on a pretty high note. With Indiana Jones, thinking about another one right now just feels like you were on such a high note like over 2 decades ago with this, and you brought it back and you made such a pig's ear of it, and you're going to decide to go at it again. That just feels it feels like a waste. And right now, the hype, I'm not going to be so excited for it, but we will see what happens. Of course, it'd be better to be wrong about something like that than to be right. So we'll see what happens. Thank you. I've been in the middle of a move, so if you've been following this channel, I hope that you can bear with me for another week and a half or so while things kind of get back on track. But in the meantime, do please subscribe for updates on reviews and movie news.